Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leaving I levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit up my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Cowboy Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We've got Thursday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins. I'm excited for this one. I'm a Ravens fan. I go back and forth about whether or not I like having my team on primetime games, but I think we've talked about this a little bit before in the past, but
yeah, pros and cons.
Yeah, but this week I'm feeling it. I'm in a big, even bigger than usual sports mood. We got college basketball just started up. Got my Ravens playing on Thursday Night Football. It's gonna be a good week, good night for sure.
Yep, I like the game tonight. I know maybe some aren't as excited, but I actually think this is gonna be a close game, Nick.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit closer than expected, and I'm saying that again as a Ravens fan. The Ravens have really played up and down to the level of their competition for the most part. They haven't really blown many teams out. A couple big wins, but not really that many. A couple overtime games, a couple more games that have gone down to the last second in regulation against some good and bad teams, including like needing a field goal at the last second that broke an NFL record to beat the worst team in the league. Mm-hmm. So the Ravens really are playing close games up and down to the level of their competition. And I think that we might see that again tonight, but we'll have to.
If that field goal doesn't go in, I think our perception of the Ravens would have changed a little bit.
I think so too. So it's actually interesting. Back in, I forget exactly what year it was, like 2007 or something like that. I mean, that year's definitely wrong. But when the Dolphins went 1-15, the only team they beat was the Ravens.
That was a foreshadow to this moment.
I disagree. I don't think that was a foreshadow to this moment. It's the revenge game for the Ravens, right?
That's the revenge.
There's
narrative.
probably
There we go.
There's no players on either team that are still playing on that team, but it's the revenge game.
Mm-hmm. I know that's so. Someone was like, the Eagles haven't won in Denver since 1989, and I'm like, first of all, they played 3 times since then. I'm like, what does that even mean? Are you gonna base your bet off of that sample? Anyways, people are funny.
People are very funny. I love people.
You can do whatever you want to do, and that's the beauty of sports betting. No one's going to stop you. If you want to bet a team because they have better uniforms, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, every bet has a winning side and a losing side.
This is true. Or a push, but...
Yeah, I mean... But yeah. So let's say hello to the chat. We've got Jeff, who was the first person in and had to make it known. So he said first. Appreciate that. You were, in fact, first. T-Cherry says Rams first round exit.
That's bold.
That is bold. I don't know. We'll have to see how OBJ fits into that offense. So just like you said, Deshaun Jackson left because he wasn't getting targets, and OBJ thought it was a good idea to go there. OBJ might just be there because it's LA.
Oh, and how many teams really wanted him is another question, too.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let me say one thing about OBJ. I know the narrative is he's a locker room cancer. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's more he's a cancer to the offense because he's a diva. Any way you slice it. And I think naturally a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, it didn't gel because when a guy and his dad are saying, "Throw the ball to my son," that just disrupts the whole flow of the offense. It's
some
that's
LeVar Ball
toxic.
shit.
Yeah, that's toxic. But I don't think that is. Maybe you do consider that a locker room cancer. I consider that more like if they're doing off the field stuff. But I guess it is off. I don't know. You kind of
I think regardless of what the root cause is, drama has followed OBJ everywhere he's been.
Yeah, he's that guy who made that one-handed catch that one time.
Mm-hmm.
But he's had good numbers since then. I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to have to say, hey, if you're going to come to the Rams, like you're going to be not the number one target. I mean, not even number 3, right?
Well, so Cooper Kupp is certainly still going to be the number one target. Him and Robert Woods can kind of fight it out for number 2. Yeah. I mean, Matt Stafford doesn't really have much of a long connection with Robert Woods either. Mm-hmm. So it's certainly possible that OBJ can overtake him as the number 2 option in the offense. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. And a lot of people were up in arms about Antonio Brown going to the Bucks last year, and that worked out.
Well, what about this is AB to the Bucks and not AB to the Raiders or AB to the Patriots? Why is it the one that worked out and not the one that didn't?
Tom Brady.
No, I know that's why AB worked out. But why are we comparing OBJ moving to the Rams to AB moving to the Buccaneers as opposed to the other moves that he had first that didn't work out?
Well, that's a good point. Maybe that's one of the. I guess I looked at it from like a contender, right? Like he jumped ship to a contender with a good quarterback and a good defense. That's, I guess, why I compared the two.
Yeah, I think
it's not Brady. Well, yeah.
Nobody's Brady.
But no, it was more Brady. Like he listened to Brady more than anything. Yeah,
Brady.
But maybe that's because of
got him in order.
And all that.
Yeah.
So, anyways. Let's talk about this game because I kind of like the Dolphins, Nick. Is that bad?
No, I don't think that's bad. As much as it pains me that you can sense the hesitation in my voice, but I actually kind of like the Dolphins to cover tonight as well.
Yeah, I do. And real quick, capacity. Nick will give you the quick rundown when let's hop on into the score right now, Nick.
Yeah, so the model has the Ravens winning this game 24.1 to 20.4, thereabouts. One small error that I made, I thought that Sammy Watkins was going to be out. It turns out that Sammy Watkins is playing tonight. But aside from that, I think I've got all the roster stuff good. So how the model works is you take all of the offensive skill position players plus the quarterbacks for each team. And you also take the team general play calling tendencies, defensive tendencies, that kind of thing. And then you start out 15 minutes left in the first quarter, whatever team's got the ball on the 25. And then you got to do a decision tree. So based on the down, the distance, the time, what the team is it a run or a pass? If it's a run, who gets the ball? If it's Lamar Jackson who runs it, how many yards does he get? Or if it's Le'Veon Bell, how many yards does he get? Or if it's a pass, who does it go to? Is it caught? Is it intercepted? How many yards does it go for? That kind of thing. And then that's one play. You update the down, the distance, the time on the clock, all that stuff. Repeat the process over and over and over again. They either score or they kick a field goal or they punt it away. Rinse and repeat until the game's over. And then rinse and repeat that process thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Average them out. And that's how we get the sims. That's the 1 minute spiel of how we get the simulation scores, and then kind of intrinsically in that, how we get the player props as well. How am I that smart? That's an excellent question. I have a master's degree in statistics. If there wasn't for COVID stuff, probably have a PhD in statistics. I was 3 years into my PhD program, passed my quals, had my advisor and stuff. Just kind of decided to drop out. But yeah, that's my credentials.
I was smart enough to know that Nick's smart enough.
Yeah, I'm edumacated.
So Nick, do you want to guess where all the money's going tonight?
Money's got to be on Baltimore tonight.
It is.
I mean, this line has moved quite a bit. So it opened up what, like 7.5?
Yeah, I was sitting at like 7.5, and I think we discussed that we thought it was going to move, and it was just one of those lines where we said, well, we don't know who's the quarterback. And I think some people, honestly, were on Ravens no matter who is the quarterback. I actually like... I will admit, I would like the Dolphins more with Tua, but I think at 8.5, I guess it could be a lean if you like it too.
Yeah, I'm comfortable putting this down as a lean. So one thing that I want to point out real quick is that there is no consensus across books as to what the line for this game should even be. So PointsBet is showing Ravens minus 8.5, total of 46. Superbook, oh, I guess they have the same number now. DraftKings, Ravens minus 8.5, total of 45.5. FanDuel, Ravens minus 8.5. So that's actually come to more or less a consensus, the 8.5. I was showing 8, 8.5, and 9 across these different books. But they've got the total at 46.5. So we're looking like 8.5 is kind of settled as the consensus in the last 20 minutes or so. But the total is still a little up in there. Although I guess we're talking about the spread first. So I am actually happy to put down the Dolphins plus 8.5 as our lean for this game.
Yeah.
Big J, you're whipping out the K's tonight. You K'd Aaron earlier
He's K'ing everyone.
about something. K and lazy dumper now. You're not putting up with anybody's shit.
The Tua slander.
No, I was actually really excited to watch Tua tonight. I wanted to take in a full game against a team that I'm familiar with, the most familiar with in the Ravens, to really get another evaluation. Because, I mean, I think he's improved for sure. I'd like to see exactly how much.
So, Nick, total. Anything there?
No, I want to fade the total.
Yeah. I actually kind of like the over, to believe it or not. But it's a lean. It's just kind of what side do I feel. It just seems like this is going to be a game where I think Brissett can move the ball a little more than maybe people are expecting.
Yeah, I think Brissett is a little undervalued by the market. I don't think that he's performed significantly different from how Tua has. I think that Tua's a little bit better in some facets of the game. Brissett's a little bit better in some other facets of the game, but not a huge difference. And I do think that the Ravens are going to have a lot of success moving the ball. So if I think if that's going to happen, but the Dolphins are still going to cover, I kind of have to lean the over. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense otherwise.
And Nick, when you mentioned this line is all over the place, are you seeing some 9s on the board?
I was. So right before we hopped on, I was showing some 9s. I was I think showing an 8 also somewhere.
Yeah. So this is something that I mentioned a few times about teaser protection, and anytime you get a number around 8, 8.5, books will jump it up to 9, 9.5, regardless if they're seeing some extra bets on that side. It's just kind of like something that they can evaluate and say like, oh, well, we expect, and people already have been teasing Ravens 8.5 down to 2.5, right? But if you move it to 9, now it's a -3. So it's just a little tidbit that some books will do. It just kind of depends. So I would say if you're betting 9 to 8.5 on different books, of course you want the best number, but that's why I think we're seeing some discrepancy.
Yeah, I agree. That's something that we've talked about a couple of times this year. We've heard it from people who actually work at the books and are responsible for setting these lines. So that's a thing that they do.
Yeah, we saw it in the Cowboys Bucks game week 1.
Very first game of the season.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, the line just moved," and I'm like, "Well, could be a little bit of that," and then Cowboys covered. So
yeah. All right. So you want to? I guess. Hold on. I'm gonna go through the chat one more time.
A lot of Tua stuff and
yeah,
OBJ
a lot of Tua slander. That's okay. I'm not gonna not going to disagree with the Tua slander. Let's see. So your dad says Ravens always start slowly. Dolphins first half may be a good look. I don't really like first half bets, especially in the NFL. I think maybe in like college sports where teams will put in backups and then lose a cover because of it. First half bets can make a little bit more sense. But in a sport like the NFL, I'm like, it's like the same team the whole time, unless you're like getting into crazy blowout backdoor cover territory. But I don't think with an 8.5 you're gonna see that. Mm-hmm. I mean that's just like a philosophical thing as opposed to anything specific about this game, though.
Yeah, unless you really do feel like the Ravens are going to come out slow, but I don't. I actually think they're not going to come out slow based on last week because even though they did come out slow, I almost feel like it's a little bit of reverse psychology where now they already got that out of their system after the bye. But again, now we're just kind of speculating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, T-Cherry says, I peaked in college and so did Tua. I guess that's just more Tua slander.
Ooh, do you got a noise for that, Nick? Oh.
I mean, yeah, oh, there you go. I can...
That we can have that for future use.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
So, yeah, Big Germ says, Ravens team total over 27.5. And I think that this is something that's got a little bit of chatter in the Discord. Personally, I don't hate the idea of it, but I would stay away. Just from the perspective of I don't really want to pick against the model. Model has Ravens at 24. Taking the team total over is picking against the model. I mean, I don't feel super strongly either way, but picking against the model is just generally speaking a slightly losing proposition. It's certainly in play though, because as we'll talk about with the props, I think that the Ravens are going to have a lot of success moving the ball. It's just, can they turn it into touchdowns and not field goals? I think is the difference on the team total.
Yep.
Lazy Dumper says, I feel weird saying your name. Like, do you like to be called Lazy Dumper? Like, do people IRL call you that? That would be something. But hot take, Ben, you'll agree with this hot take. I see you smiling. Tua should have dropped in the draft due to the injury he got. Herbert should have been number 1. So Ben is the biggest Justin Herbert stan that you will see. I mean, and for like he's an OG Justin Herbert stan. He's not just now hopping on the bandwagon. It's been like a day one Herbert guy.
Yep, day one since the Oregon Ducks days when people like Nick were sleeping on the East Coast and they weren't even watching him play in college.
No, I didn't even know Oregon was a state until I moved out west.
Isn't that team with the Ducks and the pretty uniforms?
Mm-hmm. Tom says, what I'm hearing is teased to 8.5. You heard correctly, and I said 764 units, and capacity missed the joke. In the Discord yesterday, Tom posted a joke play with DePaul. It said DePaul lock of the century, 400 units.
Joke play. Yeah,
I think he liked DePaul. The 400 units was a joke, obviously.
Yeah.
Tom is very much on our team about and being anti-unit manipulation.
That was pretty funny though because it looked terrible, and then I'm like, now I'm intrigued. I'm watching this.
Yeah. So the return on that bet was 764 units when it won, and we were joking earlier today about a different play that he had. Just put the whole 764 units on it, but it looks like he only put 750. So that's betting responsibly right there. All right.
Yep.
Time for the prop market. Mm-hmm. So as always, we will take a peek at passing props first. And these numbers are moving quite a bit. These are both quite a bit different than when I looked at them earlier today. So we've currently got Jacoby Brissett over under 237.5, Lamar Jackson over under 241.5. Ben, we'll start with you. Do you have any leans on either of these passing yard numbers?
I kind of do, and it's Brissett over.
I like the Brissett over as well.
Yeah.
Why do you like the Brissett over?
Well, I think partly if you look at his prior numbers, they have, I believe, all of them have been under this mark. Correct?
No, actually. So in his 4 starts, 215 against Vegas, 199 against Indy. Those were his first 2 starts. Last 2 starts, 275 against Tampa, 244 last week against Houston. Okay. So over twice, under twice.
I thought it was maybe 3-1 or 0-4.
There was the game where he came in the second quarter against Buffalo, where he threw 40 passes but was under this number. Mm-hmm. So that makes it look, but like that wasn't technically a start.
Gotcha. So Brissett's a guy who I think is more than capable of having a big night passing wise. It just kind of comes down to how they try to utilize Gaskin out of the backfield. And I think in this matchup, I think they're going to try to throw a little more, and they're probably going to be trailing at some point. So that's it's not super in depth, but it's a lean, and yeah, I think he goes over.
Yeah, and the Ravens allow quite a bit of yardage to quarterbacks. It's been up and down, but they allowed 435 to the Raiders, 343 to the Chiefs, 402 to the Colts, 416 to the Bengals. So 4 really big passing outputs, 340 plus yards. And then 4 games where they were way under this number, 217 to the Lions, 178 to the Broncos, 195 to the Chargers, 187 to the Vikings. So we're looking at either way over or way under.
And Nick, I wanted to point something out in the chat about his over, and if it goes over for his passing yards, do we like the completions? And I actually think that you could definitely see him go under completions because you have guys like Waddle who can potentially be a deep threat, and even Gaskin could break a tackle and have a big run. I know it's at like 20, so it looks like pretty low.
I will say the deep threat is not in the repertoire of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at some point you got to think they're going to take a shot with Waddle or take more shots. I mean, he averaged, let's see, I guess he only had 11 yards per catch, and he has 7, so I guess,
I mean, the Dolphins haven't completed a 50-yard pass this year.
Well,
they did last year, but Fitzpatrick
did.
Well,
that was Tua, too.
Yeah, I mean, but Brissett has started 4 games. I mean, that's more than half their season.
Yeah.
If you combine his time off the bench, and his long is 49.
Okay. I'll put it this way. He's better at a deep ball than Tua.
Yes, he is.
What does that really say?
I mean, I might be better at a deep ball than Tua.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be a slight exaggeration. But yeah.
So that's all I got with Brissett.
Yeah, I like the Brissett over. I also like Lamar Jackson, actually, this passing over. So this is moved up to 241.5, at least here on DraftKings. I'm going to line shop a little bit. Still showing a 237.5 on FanDuel. That's the number that I saw it at everywhere earlier. Much better number for the over. So here's why I like this over. I wrote down a bunch of stuff for this because that's fun. Lamar Jackson. Got to bring his Pro Football Reference page back up real quick.
I was like, okay, Nick.
Yeah, I wrote down a lot of stuff. I'm not going to share any of it with you, but I wrote it down. Yeah. So he has only had 2 games this year under 235 passing yards. So, I mean, he had a 235, which is technically under this number. But a lot of games in like the mid 200s or above. So a 235 that went under. Oh, and a 167 that went under. And those are the only 2 that have gone under. So he's been over this number 6 times in his games. Also, the Dolphins. This is what I actually wrote down. Gotta grab my notes here. Quarterbacks against the Dolphins typically have among their better games, passing, yardage-wise. Mac Jones had his second most passing yards this year out of 9 games. Josh Allen was not in that boat. He had his 8th best out of 8 and his 6th best out of 8. against the Dolphins. But Derek Carr had his second best game. Tom Brady had his second best game. Trevor Lawrence had his second best game. Matt Ryan, third best game. And then Tyrod Taylor had his second best game, but that's only out of 3. So we're pretty
surprising.
Consistently seeing a lot of quarterbacks, like winning quarterbacks, losing quarterbacks, just as long as it's not Josh Allen, basically, having really high passing outputs against the Dolphins.
And to me, that's shocking to hear because, and I knew the stat, but coming into the season, I thought Miami was going to be a top 10 defense, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, they're
sitting around 15, 16, depending on what stats you look at. And I think they're 18th-ish for passing defense, which is crazy with guys like Byron Jones and Xavier Howard.
Yeah, it feels weird that the defense is struggling as much as it is, but it is. There's no two ways about it.
Nope.
So I think Lamar's good for 250, 260 today, pretty easily. I like the Lamar completions even more, though, if I'm being honest. So I'm showing that at 19.5 right now, at least on DraftKings. I'm not going to line shop so much for this one. But the Dolphins against quarterbacks have allowed 19 or more completions in all but one of the games. In fact, they've allowed 24 or more completions in all but one of their games. Lamar Jackson himself has had 19 and a half or more completions every game this year. Win or lose. I mean, his low on the season... Oh, no, that's a lie. I was looking at attempts for a second. He's had a 19 twice, an 18 once, and a 16 once. So actually, never mind on that. I was like, those numbers are really high.
Cut it out.
Yeah. Cut.
Good thing this isn't live.
Yeah, good thing this isn't live. Right. Welcome to today's stream, everyone.
Yeah, starting soon. I like the Lamar angle, and it's a good lead into the props for the receivers when we get to that too. Something I like there.
Yeah, so let's move along to those right now. Or I guess let's move to the rushers first, because that's the order that we go in. So on the Ravens side of things, we have Lamar Jackson over under 66.5, Devontae Freeman over under 45.5, Le'Veon Bell over under 19.5. Anything that you're interested in, Ben?
Okay. Yes, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Le'Veon Bell under 19.5.
So my thoughts on this is I just want to completely avoid all of this. I mean, Lamar is going to get his carries. Just is he going to get the yards? And then Freeman's playing well, but Le'Veon Bell also played pretty well last week and is definitely getting a non-zero number of carries.
Mm-hmm.
And at 19.5, it kind of just feels like the right number.
And also, there's that far off chance. Well, maybe it's not as far off as I think. If the Ravens get up big, maybe he gets 5-6 carries down the stretch. It's this number in garbage time.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Too. Yeah, it was something I was thinking about because it just seems like one of those angles based on Freeman's play that I don't think he's going to see a lot of touches in the backfield. I mean, when I say a lot, like over 5, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think that, I mean, my opinion is that all of these numbers are more or less where they should be on the Ravens side of things. So for the Dolphins, we've got Jacoby Brissett over under 7.5, Myles Gaskin over under 42.5, Salvon Ahmed over under 18.5. And is there anything here, Ben?
Another under I like.
And who is that?
Gaskin.
Why do you like Gaskin under?
42.5. It just seems like a good number. And sorry, my fire alarms are going off.
I was trying to make sure that wasn't my alarm.
No, it's fine. My fiance is just cooking.
Burning shit in the kitchen.
I mean, I feel like if it's a serious fire, she would probably get me. So,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a lean Nick with Gaskin. It just seems like the game script here. I still think he's going to be utilized more as a receiver, though. But again, this is a lean. I'm not betting this myself.
Yeah, I mean, Gaskin's
Fire
usage has
picks.
been fire. Yeah,
Thanks, Jeff.
I saw that. I love that pun. It's like, yeah, this is fine. This happens all the time. It's like the picture of the dog just sitting, burning, in, like burning kitchen, reading the newspapers. Like everything's fine.
That was us during baseball season.
With all the sticky
His
stuff.
sticky stuff. Yeah,
It's probably really flammable.
probably, man.
Yeah, so Gaskin, his usage has been back up. It looked like he was in the doghouse for a little while, but he's had 15, 12, and 20 carries the last 3 weeks. But the efficiency just really hasn't been there.
Yeah, last week, what was it? 20 for 43 yards?
20 carries for 34 yards. The week before, 12 for 36, which is bad, but it's a lot better. And then the week before that, he did have 15 for 67, but he's actually only gone over this number twice. Oh, no, I thought this was 52 and a half. It's 42 and a half. But I mean, still. He probably needs 15 carries to reliably hit this.
Yeah, and based
even
on
then.
what I've seen out of him in the past, and I haven't watched like a lot of Dolphins football, but seems like that could be an offensive line issue. But I don't want to speculate. Regardless, he's struggled a little bit efficiency wise, but
Yeah, that he has. So Jacoby Brissett is potentially interesting as well. So this number is sitting at 7.5 right now. In his 4 starts, he had 7 carries for 37 yards, which is way over this number. Like if he gets 7 carries, he's gonna fly over. 3 carries for 8 yards, 1 carry for 7 yards, and then no carries at all against Tampa. But that's against Tampa. You don't run against Tampa. And then in the game, he came in as a backup for Tua, 4 carries for 8 yards. The Ravens don't really allow a whole lot of runs to quarterbacks, though. They haven't faced a whole lot of guys who are very good runners. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, 1 carry for 3 yards. Teddy Bridgewater, 1 carry for 2 yards. Carson Wentz, 2 carries for 5 yards. Justin Herbert, 2 carries for 12 yards. I mean, those are guys who can run. It's not like the main part of their game, but I mean, so I kind of think that the Ravens do scheme a little bit to stop quarterbacks from running. So I think this Brissett under 7.5 is potentially interesting if he stays down in like that 2 or 3 carry range.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a lean that I have.
and he's not going to take any hits. I mean, the backup in this case, well, Tua, he will be starting. He's going to be out.
No, Tua.
who's
I think
the,
Tua is the emergency backup.
Wow,
It was like that last week too.
But
They might be
is that
carrying
it?
a third quarterback. I'm actually not quite sure if they're carrying a third quarterback tonight. I haven't seen anything. If anybody knows if they do have a third quarterback active on the roster tonight, like dressed, let us know.
I feel like one of the receivers is the emergency guy.
Could be. I mean, I'm seeing a report right now that says Tua will only be active as the Dolphins' emergency backup.
What was that hockey team who like got a backup goalie?
That was the Hurricanes.
That was
It was
crazy.
like Scott Foster.
He was in the crowd.
Well, they actually always have that. It's a requirement that the home team has to have a guy in the crowd who's like at least bare minimum qualified to step in. Like he's played college goalie or something as an emergency backup.
So they're not just putting like some drunk college kid out there. who's
Yeah.
never played hockey before.
No, it's a requirement that the home team has at least one of those guys in attendance every night
That'd be a
with
great
like with
Disney
gear
movie
and a
for-
jersey and stuff.
for NFL, like a great Disney movie where they get a guy off the crowd and he has to come in and win the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that might get made into a movie.
So do you like that Brissett quite a bit?
It's a lean. It's not my favorite pick tonight, but I thought it was something at least worth talking about.
Yeah.
So that's rushing props. Receiving props. I have some receiving props I really like tonight. I can't lie. But I'm curious what you have to say about these. And capacity, we'll get to the favorite plays after we run through just higher level discussions of everything.
I mean, Nick, what would it be on a Capwise stream without Ben giving out a receiving prop of a rookie?
Well, what would it be without me saying, let's start with the Dolphins, and then I run through all the Dolphins props, and then you give me your favorite pick on the Ravens?
That's true, too. I just get so eager, Nick.
Okay.
I wait all day. I wait all day for this, and I'm just like, I can't wait.
All right, so Ben, what team would you like to start with?
Dolphins.
We've got Adam Shaheen, over under 8.5. Durham Smith, over under 11.5. Jalen Waddle, over under 61.5. Mac Hollins, over under 17.5. Mike Gesicki, 51.5. Myles Gaskin, 23.5. Preston Williams, 18.5. Salvon Ahmed, 7.5. So I saw your head start nodding with one of these guys.
No, I actually was just kind of like going through them.
Oh, well, so who's your guy?
It isn't on the Dolphins.
Why'd you tell me to start with the Dolphins?
I tricked you, Nick. I gotcha.
Okay.
It's not Waddle. It's not
Waddle. I don't like Waddle either.
Yeah, I don't like Waddle. I kind of like Preston Williams, but he's not a rookie. But I don't know. This feels like one of those games that even though I like the over for the quarterback, I can't pinpoint who the guy's going to be tonight with these numbers.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So something just generally speaking that I think is interesting is in the 4 starts that Jacoby Brissett has made, the Dolphins have had a different leading receiver in all 4 of those games. So there's not like one guy that is Brissett's guy. So against the Texans, the leading receiver was Jalen Waddle, 8 catches on 10 targets for 83 yards. Against the Buccaneers, leading receivers, Myles Gaskin, 10 catches on 10 targets for 74. Leading non-back receiver was Preston Williams, 3 catches on 5 targets for 60. Against the Colts, leading receiver was Devontae Parker, who's not playing tonight. 4 catches on 9 targets for 77 yards. And then against the Raiders, leading receiver was Mike Gesicki, 10 catches on 12 targets for 86 yards. So there's not like one guy who is Brissett's guy.
He's like Brissett's like that guy you see at the club with a different girl every week. You know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Who's it going to be tonight?
I don't know.
But you're going to go to the club and find out. I think it might be Williams, though. But that's just me guessing. I really don't know.
It's going to be Williams. Preston Williams. So why Preston Williams?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you. You're the one who said it might be Williams. I'm not asking myself.
That's my intuition.
Is that it might be Williams?
Well, okay. Parker's out. He's going to be. I mean, he's essentially what? Is he the 3rd target now?
I don't really even know.
Yeah,
It's such a receiver room by committee.
Yeah, you got to put Gaskin in there too. So
Yeah,
it just seems like a low number where he could just literally get one catch and hits the number.
Yeah, and I will say, as you can see on the screen, the model does have Preston Williams as the 2nd leading receiver on the Dolphins tonight. 44.5 yards compared to this number of 18.5. I do think that there's a lot of questions about exactly who's going to get targets, but I think that at 18.5, Williams is probably going to be on the field for most of the snaps. I think he's a good look.
Yeah.
Like Larry said, I think that Gesicki is a pretty good look as well. So the number's a little high. It's at 51.5. But the Ravens are the worst team in the league against tight ends. So I went through and I did the same kind of thing that I did earlier for Lamar Jackson for tight ends against the Ravens. So tight ends against the Ravens. Darren Waller had his best receiving game of the year. Travis Kelce had his best receiving game of the year. Against the Lions, TJ Hawkinson didn't have a great game, only 2 catches, but Darren Fells had his best receiving game of the year. Noah Fant had his 3rd best receiving game of the year out of 8. Mo Alley Cox, top tight end for the Colts, had his best receiving game of the year against the Ravens. Jared Cook didn't have a good game against the Ravens. It was tied for his worst game. CJ Uzoma, 2nd most receiving yards out of 9 games that he's had. And last week, Conklin on the Vikings had an average game, 4th out of 8. But still, we're seeing a tight end pretty much every week have pretty much their best game of the year against the Ravens. So Gesicki definitely could be that guy. I'm actually a little bit more interested, though, in a backup tight end, and that's Durham Smith. I do like the Gesicki number at 51.5, but I like this Durham Smith over 11.5 even more. So Smith has been a guy that Brissett has looked to fairly consistently. He's got multiple catches, I believe, in 3 of the 4 weeks that Brissett has started. He's seeing quite a bit of snaps. I think in the weeks that Parker missed earlier this year, his snap count moved up into like the 60s and 70s. So he's going to be on the field a lot. Let me double check exactly which games Devontae Parker has been out. He missed 5 and 6 and 9 those weeks. In those weeks, Durham Smith, 2 catches for 23 yards, 5 catches for 59 yards, 2 catches for 27 yards. So,
I think he's been lining up a little bit as a kind of like a receiver, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good option in the passing game. And those 3 weeks, 67% of the snaps, 83% of the snaps, 60% of the snaps, compared to since week 1 where he had 70. I mean, not more than 42% of the snaps in any other game. So he's really a guy that benefits snap-wise from Devontae Parker being out, and if he's going to be on the field 60% of the time as a receiver, or technically a tight end, but a receiving option, I think that this 11.5 is a no-brainer.
Nice.
All right, so let's move on to the Ravens, since that's where your guy is. I actually am a little less confident in the Ravens, passing attack-wise. So we've got Devontae Freeman over under 10.5, Mark Andrews over under 50.5, Hollywood Brown 62.5, Rashad Bateman 37.5, Sammy Watkins 31.5. So who's your guy?
Okay, so my guy is Bateman. But here's where I'm at. So gave this out in the Discord. I think it was 31.5.
Yeah.
And it opened, and I knew it was going to go up. It was one of those where it was a no-brainer that it was going to move. And, I mean, more times than not, these numbers go up, right, in the prop market. But I am showing a 35.5 on PointsBet at minus 120. So I think that's probably a little bit better value than a 37.5, but it's very close at minus 110. I still like it, Nick. I know it seems a little high, but the big thing with Bateman that I've been able to see, even though Sammy Watkins is back tonight, is Lamar Jackson is throwing to him and looking towards him on 3rd downs. So I think that trust factor is already in place. Lamar Jackson is looking towards him as a reliable receiver, and he's catching almost everything. And he did in college, too.
I think every catch that Rashad Bateman has had has resulted in a first down.
Yeah. And one of them did that one-handed one, too.
Yeah.
It was insane. He's not dropping passes. I mean, rookies we've seen in the past come in and they maybe they're scared of the safeties taking their heads off or whatever.
I mean, even the Ravens have a really talented, second-year guy now with a huge drop problem in Hollywood Brown.
Yeah. So on 3rd downs, if Andrews is getting some coverage, double coverage with a shaded safety, it leaves Bateman kind of one-on-one with a guy. And yeah, I'm gonna go with that over still. I'm gonna go with the 35.5 at minus 120 on PointsBet.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. Let's shop around just to be sure.
Yeah,
So
I think
checking
that was the best I
FanDuel.
saw, but
Yeah, they have 38.5 for Bateman. And then Superbook has where is it?
I guess 37.
It's hard to find things on Superbook.
They have sharp lines though.
They don't even have Bateman receiving prep. Yeah, so the one thing that does worry me is the return of Sammy Watkins. This is the first time that Watkins and Bateman and Brown have all been on the field together. Plus Mark Andrews. It feels weird to say about the Ravens, but that is a lot of decent receiving options.
It is. So yeah, that is the one thing that just could derail this, right? But I still think, from what I saw last week, yeah, I think he ends up with like 4 catches for 48.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable. Also, thank you.
Flash it.
Flash it. I mean, it better be the only thing you flash.
If it doesn't hit, no, just kidding. I'm not going to give it away.
If it doesn't hit, you must rip.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky1211, for the follow. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I think I trust the volume, so I like Lamar Jackson a little bit more than I like any of the individual receiving options, just because I want to see how it plays out with Watkins plus Brown plus Bateman all in the fold together. So let's take a quick peep, just for fun, at the touchdown prop market. Our
Nick,
favorite
real quick.
props.
Someone on Twitter said, I was talking about Rashard Bateman, and he's like, Watkins back. And I did the Snoop Dogg, like, who? Who's Watkins?
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
he thinks I'm serious. He's like, this guy doesn't know anything about football. What a loser.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. So, from the model, we've got Myles Gaskin and Marquise Brown as kind of the top 2 touchdown guys. I think Hollywood Brown, we haven't really talked about him a whole lot, aside from saying that he has stone hands. But I actually do think that he's a pretty good potential option for a touchdown tonight. With the loose nature, we'll say, of the Dolphins secondary. I didn't know how to phrase that.
Yeah, it made sense.
I was gonna call them a sieve, but whatever. I think that Hollywood Brown could definitely be in line to catch a deep shot tonight. He actually also, I hadn't looked at this until now, but he actually does have the top odds for anytime touchdown scorer at plus 110. That actually doesn't seem like a terrible value to me.
Yeah, it's almost like the narrative has shifted, right? Where now it's like, oh, Hollywood Brown, he's going to drop a touchdown tonight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Hope he makes like the most outrageous one-handed catch in the end zone.
Yeah. So this Myles Gaskin right here at plus 190, that feels actually, again, like a pretty good value. Like, why is the starting running back plus 190 to score a touchdown?
I don't know. It seems
Probably
like
because he only has one touchdown this year. Oh, no, he has 4 touchdowns.
No, he has 4.
A
But
couple
3
receiving touchdowns.
Yeah,
3 receiving touchdowns.
What's Gasecki at?
Mike Gesicki is at plus 225.
Yeah,
He's actually I guess he's 4th in line on the model. Durham Smith, the guy who's receiving prop I like a lot, could be another interesting touchdown guy at plus 600. Anytime touchdown score. It's going to be on the field a lot. Another guy who I think is interesting is actually Devin Duvernay. Although I don't know exactly what Duvernay's role is going to be today. The Dolphins, not only on the outside, have had some issues to receivers, but they've actually allowed slot receivers to have quite a bit of success this year. You've seen guys like Cole Beasley, like Zach Pascal put up some of their best games of the season against the Dolphins. I don't know exactly who's going to be playing in the slot. It's usually Duvernay without without what's his name? Without Sammy Watkins or Bateman, but with all three of them in, I mean, Duverty's going to have a lot less snaps, so I'm not really sure. Probably going to stay away from that.
Can we look at the one player playing tonight from the University of Maine?
Patrick Ricard. No, I mean, is it Patrick Ricard?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just
okay.
want to see what his number's at.
Oh, I was going to say Patrick Ricard before you said University of Maine, and then I was like, wait, he was going to add more to that? I don't know where Patrick Ricard went to school. He's actually only plus 750.
Man, they're catching on to this.
Yeah, I love Patrick Ricard. Patrick Ricard is one of my favorite players.
First touchdown.
So yeah, that's that. Capacity says, I'm curious what the record for the model is on over-unders.
Let's get into that later because we're running up to time here.
Okay, I have it up. The answer is, so we're looking at 70 and 66 on the year as far as stuff that we've actually given out, although we're making some slight corrections to the model to account for some slight biases. Using those corrections for the whole year, I guess it's actually like the same. It's still like it's 71 and 65. We've been doing better on spreads as opposed to totals this year.
Surprised at that, actually.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around. But we're looking at 75 and 61 on closing line spreads on the year. And again, all of these except for the one Bills Monday Night Football game where my power was out and the 2 London games have all been on stream. That's all verifiable. But yeah, let's do our top props picks for tonight. Ben, why don't you start us out?
Yes, I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman over 35.5 receiving yards. That's minus 120 on points bet. And we got to flash him one more time. Boom.
That is that you got to do 35.5 of these little motions with the card.
Oh yeah.
Lock it in.
Every yard. Yeah.
And for my favorite pick tonight, I'm going to go over to PointsBet for this also, because they're offering a slightly better number as well. I'm going to go Durham Smith over 10.5 receiving yards, again at minus 120. Well, I guess minus 121. It's 11.5 minus 115 on DraftKings. I think it's worth paying 6 cents for that yard. So there you have it. That is today's game. Starting up in about 10 minutes. You can catch that, as always, or at least as of now, on Twitch, because Amazon owns the streaming rights to Thursday Night Football. And Amazon owns Twitch. And speaking of Amazon, and speaking of Twitch, if you have an Amazon Prime account, be sure to link that with your Twitch account. I know T Cherry has his linked, Larry has his linked, Capacity has his linked, I have mine linked, Ben has his linked. If you don't have yours linked, what are you doing? It takes 2 minutes to link them. Little tutorial video for how to do it right there. Oh, I didn't open up the chat bot. I'm trolling. It's still not open. 1 second.
Well.
But there'll be a link in a second. And then once you have linked your account, click on the purple button below the stream that says subscribe. Click the button that says use Prime subscription or subscribe with Amazon Prime or something like that. And then click the subscribe button. You gotta go through that second step. Do that on our channel. Do that on somebody else's channel. But just do it. It's a benefit that you pay for with your Amazon Prime subscription. Helps out us, or it helps out whatever other streamer that you use it on. Don't let Jeff keep all the money. Give some of it to your favorite streamer.
Yep.
And you get access to our cool Capwise lock emote. And once we get enough subscribers, we can have more emotes.
How many do we need?
We need 15 to unlock the next emote slot.
Gotta be close, right?
No, we're only at like 7.
Is it because people don't re-up?
I think it's because people forget that they have to re-up.
Yeah, because we've at least had 15, I think.
There's definitely been 15 unique people that have subscribed.
Yeah.
But you have to renew that every month manually. So be sure to do that also. If you've subscribed in the past, be sure to renew it.
What about followers?
The followers, as far as emotes and stuff, doesn't really matter. But we're closing in on 400.
So we don't need to go buy some.
Yeah, no, we're gonna just go buy 10,000 followers.
And we're gonna get those. Do you want to become famous? Like in the chats, like every minute.
Yeah, I want to be famous.
Oh, poo-poo.
Larry says he re-upped today. Larry, you should also, once you've done that, click on the button that says share my subscription, and then you get a fancy little notification that pops up on the stream.
Yeah, and then we can be like, woo.
You'd be like, thank you, Larry. I think T-Cherry re-upped his today as well. Because his founder badge went away for a second. But then it was back. But anyways, I think that's gonna wrap up the stream for today. We got football kicking off in about 10 minutes. Thank you all, as always, for being here. Appreciate it very much. We'll be back Saturday morning at some point with some college basketball action. Got a couple picks in progress right now. I'm actually really curious how they're doing. Haven't been following.
I didn't even look.
And then we'll be back on Sunday for Sunday NFL games preview. So be sure to tune in for that as well. That is it.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
We should be like the AMSR people.
Yeah.
You know what's actually funny, Nick? I bet if we did that, we would get an influx of followers. Just like because that's this whole thing. Weird.
Yeah.
So make sure to tune in. It's also kind of creepy too, especially when you have a mustache.
Make sure to click subscribe.
Yeah, especially with your mustache.
Yeah. Okay.
Larry's kids are gonna have nightmares.
Uh-huh.
Daddy.
But Larry's not gonna have nightmares.
It's like, all right.
Yeah,
Enough
we've gone far enough. Has science gone too far? Yes, it has.
It has.
All right. Good luck on all the bets, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Peace, everyone.